Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I put in headphones, lovely. Thank you so much. It's really nice to be here this morning. So I don't really know. So people ask me this question all the time, and I always sort of, I don't really know what to say because what I do is quite boring, really. And that's what I've always said about the business and the systems that are in place. It is quite boring to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But that's what this business is all about, isn't it? It's creating the sort of sticking to a system that we're taught and carrying it through and doing it again, and then the results of that are really exciting. So I would say it's doing it is quite boring, but the results of it are amazing and worth doing. So that's all I've ever done, really. So when we started, Will and I were both already self-employed, so we've been in the business for just over 6 years now, and we were already self-employed, and we'd struggled away to build our own businesses and invent our own systems and all that sort of stuff. And then, this came along, and the first thing we heard was someone just said, look, if you want to be successful, you just do as you're told on the training and just follow the system and don't try and reinvent the wheel. And I was like, well, I mean, that was just music to my ears, because like I said, we struggled away for the sort of 5-6 years prior to that, building our own businesses and having to kind of think of different ways to get new customers and all that sort of stuff. And then I came along to this business and they went, here you go. I think I paid £100 back then. Here is a business in a box. Don't go out of that box and just do as you're shown and copy the people who are already successful. I was like, this is brilliant, because in any other kind of business or job, if you find someone who's really successful and copy them, you can get in a bit of trouble, can't you? And what I love about this business is that people want you to do well, because we're all representing the same company. It's in my interest for everybody to do well, whether you're in my team or not, because it's great to have a really positive thought about UW out there in the world. And so, and what I love about it is that when you find someone who's successful, they are willing to give you their time to help you, no matter whose team you're in. So, and that's what I find really interesting, is that not many people ask. So when we went senior group leader last September, I think this might be like third or fourth team meeting we've been asked onto, which I find really interesting. But what I love is the people who are asking are doing really well. So, that was a real thing for me. It was find people who are successful, ask them what they're doing, copy it exactly, go to all the events, because that's when you'll find the successful people and you'll hear from them, and copy what they're doing. So I thought, right, yeah, we can do that. Go to a training. So, we discovered that going to one training a month is where we will find these successful people and pick up the tips and things. And it might be, I went on Getting Started training every single month for my first year. Not because I'm slow, although I am a bit bitsy, but just because it might have been at the coffee table, I met a 200 plus club member, and they gave me a top tip that I would never have known otherwise. So I always made sure I go on at least one training a month, and I still do now as well, virtually, where I can. I'm booked onto the remote supported appointment training at the end of this month, because I think that's another thing, never stop learning, and never stop being humble enough to know that you don't know it all. So yeah, we might be senior group leader, but there are people that are way, way better than us, and the top achievers and things, and I will always ask them, what are you doing? How are you getting these results? I want to learn from you. What have you been doing? Because, you can adapt to all the time. So we're always, just now I've just been reading personal development, always being open to learning. But the biggest key for us is keeping it simple and following the system. And that's not a very exciting magic pill to give you guys, is it? Because you hear that all the time, but that really is what works. And I don't know everything. I don't know how much our broadband is. Genuinely don't know how much our broadband is. I know everyone's like, what? But I've got over 200 customers and nearly 4,000 group customers. So that obviously has paid off. We don't need to retain all this information, because that's what makes us duplicatable. And so I think, I've always had in my mind when I'm doing appointments that I want the person sitting next to me, I look at that as this is their first training. Whether they know they're going to join the business or not, or whether they do join the business or not, isn't really is out of my hands. But I look at this as this is their first training. This is the first time they're being shown Utility Warehouse. And if they do decide they want to do this, I want them to do it like I've done it. I don't want to have to go, right, well, how I've done it is actually different. I'm going to train you to do it a different way. I'm going to train you to do it, the system that we teach people. Don't copy me. You really want someone to sit there and go, when you ask them at the end, what suits you best, saving money, making money, or both, you want them to think, oh, no, I can do what you just did. She doesn't know how much the broadband was. She didn't know any of the answers to my questions. And of course, some things I do retain, but I want to show them that, I'm not sure if that actually, if you just click that little question mark there, then that will tell you. And I think because one time I got a bit, I was doing lots and lots of appointments. I think it was like the push to group leader or push to 200 plus club or something. I was doing lots and lots of appointments and I was getting quite slick. I think I was getting a bit bored. So I was just kind of, going through it and sticking jokes in and lots of information. And one lady at the end of it, she really needed this business. I could tell that during the rapport building. And by the end of the presentation, I'd met her on a win a mini stand as well. So, she thought that you have to go and stand on a promotional stand all day. I forgot to tell her my why. So she didn't know that I was just a mum building a business in my spare time like she is. And at the end, she said, oh, no, I don't think I can do what you do. And that was like, that was the biggest killer for me because I thought, no, I've overcomplicated it. I've made it too slick. I left out my why. I just wanted to get, those days we just want to get in and out. I just wanted to get the customer and go. And I didn't do it properly. And, that I potentially prevented her from having what we've got, really changing her life. So it's all sticking to the system. So I go in, I make sure I tell everybody my why all the time, and just to make myself relatable as well. And the same goes with the team, so yeah, we might have got these customers and got to senior group leader in a fairly short amount of time, but I want them to think that they can do it too. I don't want them to think, oh, well, everything that Hannah touches turns to gold, because that's not the case at all. And I think that shows in the team, when you saying, Stuart, about sort of team leaders popping up all over the place, is because it's just what we do. It's just, I just make sure that they believe that's what they can do, because that's what's happening in our team. And that's what happened with me when I joined. I didn't know any different. So we went out and gathered customers, because that's what was going on in our little WhatsApp group every day. Someone was saying, oh, well done, so-and-so for the customer. And so we just thought, oh, that's just what you do, so we just carried on. And so I try and make sure that they know they can do it as well. It's not just like, I've done it, I'm amazing, you can't copy me. It's very much that I show them, I tell them all the time my inadequacies, my weaknesses and my vulnerabilities, and because I want to be, I've always said, I want to be the last person to the top of the mountain. I want to make sure everyone else gets there first and I'm there behind them, like, clapping them along and pushing them along, and I get there last, rather than I get there first. I'm like, yeah, look at me, I've done it, come on. It's so much more empowering to be the last person. So almost to the point where I almost self-sabotage myself, in that I'm always the last person to qualify for a holiday, the last person to qualify for the cocktails, because I'm so busy making sure everyone else is doing it themselves first, and just saying, I had a chat with one of my team yesterday, senior team leader, and we went for a dog walk, and she said, still haven't done the cocktails. I was like, I haven't either. What can we do? What should we do? Whereas if I'd gone, I have, she might have gone, but the fact that she's like, oh, well, Hannah hasn't done it yet, let's do it together. And I just found I don't know, it's just the way that I've kind of stumbled across my leadership style, and it seems to work because we're all kind of in it together, in that kind of team culture thing, I suppose.
I love that. I definitely know that I'm too slick in so many appointments, and I walk out thinking, yeah, they can't see the business there. I also feel sometimes when I'm going through the getting started fast start plan with new people, that it intimidates them how much there is. Do you ever experience that? The more you do it, obviously, the better you get at it. What is your experience with that?
I think that's very much a mindset thing. I used to feel like that as well. And I think sometimes if we feel like we're showing them too much, then they're going to feel like you're showing them too much. It's like everything, isn't it? It's all about the posture. Do you mean the new Fast Start plan on the...
Yes, we've been using that recently.
Yeah, so, when I started, the Fast Start plan that we used on the portal, it was 10 steps. Yeah. And that really was overwhelming, So actually what the panel have done with this Fast Start plan is actually simplify it, and just taking down those most important points. Now, for me, the most important part is your why, is the new person's why, the reason they're doing the business. And I will drill down to that as much, like, it's awful, but Will and I have a little high five moment when I'm like, I made the new person cry because when they're telling me their story. So I might go on there and say, you know, why did you join the business? And most people say, oh, for some extra money. And I also, you know, it's that Alan P's questions are the answers is brilliant for this. So what do you want to have the money for? And for example, the other day I was doing a fast start with a new person, a team leader doing it. So I was training her to do it. And so I didn't know the person that we were doing the fast start for at all. I knew nothing about them. So it was quite easy for me to ask lots of questions. And he said, well, I just want some extra money, obviously. He said, yeah, obviously. So, you know, what for? He was like, well, I'd really like to be able to just buy whatever car I want. So I was like, well, you know, what car do you want? And by the end of it, I knew exactly the model, exactly the colour. And then he's like, and I'd really like to be able to take my son on holiday. And I said, where would you go? And so I kept asking questions. And it started with, I just want some extra money, obviously, which I could have just gone, okay, let's put that, I need extra money. Ended with me knowing exactly what car he wanted to drive and what colour. The needs that his son had, which actually is the same as my son, so we've, you know, really built some rapport over that. Why he wanted to go on holiday, that he's obsessed with space. And I was like, well, I've been to NASA, you know, we went there with Utility Warehouse, and, you know, so that turned from a 5-minute conversation where I could have just gone, right, I want some extra money, to me really knowing this person. And so now, you know, when I phone him up and say, well done for the customer, I can say, you know, we're nearly there, getting Johnny to NASA and all that sort of stuff. And it just, people will do so much more when they know how much you care about it, rather than it just being a number or just being someone who needs to get to QD so that that person can get to team leader, so that person can get to senior team leader, so I can get to senior group leader. You know, it's they're a person. They're a person with hopes and dreams and needs and challenges and all the sorts of stuff. And the more you know about that person, the better. You know, it really is. I really do, I'm very passionate about that, you know, really leading with love and knowing as much about. I might not know how much broadband is, but I know as much as I possibly can about all of our team, because I think that's my duty, to make sure that we've got this opportunity and that they get as much out of it as they can. So I know, I say that all the time. I remember Jogger said it to me when we finally managed to move my son, who's got additional needs, to private school last September, and I got the letter that he got in and I sent it to Jogger, and he said, I don't know what our kilowatt hour rate is, but I know what school Henry Grover goes to, and that's really important. And I was like, and that made me feel so special. I thought, right, that's something that I want to duplicate in our team. And you know, those sorts of things, we wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for this business. So that's why it's really important that, you know, we know our team as much as possible. So for me, that your why section on the fast start is probably the most important bit. As somebody else might say, actually getting the appointments in the diary is the most important bit. But of course, it's really important we have appointments in the diary. But if we start with the why, and then we're like, right, so, you know, we've got that car, you can see the car, we've got the holiday. Now, how are we going to get the money for this? We need to build your list. Then we need to book some appointments. And they're much more likely to go on to want to do that because they're attaching it to the reason why they want to join the business in the first place. So when you do that, it's more really about a chat about them, and everyone loves talking about themselves, right? So it doesn't really feel overwhelming because you start by just talking to them about them, what they want, what they need, and the rest of it then isn't overwhelming. It's like, right, the rest of it is let's get that dream happening. Let's get your goals ticked off. Is that lawnmower in the background really noisy, or is it okay?
No, I can't hear it at all.
Okay, good. Cool.
But that's really interesting. I think that's a good lesson for most people to take, because I think a lot of people do treat fast start planners as an academic exercise they have to tick the boxes and get through, rather than a people exercise. And I can see that being really useful.
Yeah.
What about existing team members who have dropped off the wagon, gone quiet? I'm sure in this coronavirus period, as with everyone else, there's some people who are doing loads who have just disappeared for the moment. Are you speaking to them? What joy are you having reinvigorating people?
Yeah, so I mean, again, talking about being relatable, you know, I was one of those people. I dropped off the face of the earth when this happened, you know. But I very much, my why was to spend more time with Henry, but I didn't mean every single day for 6 months in a row. Like, I love him, but I also love the school that I'm paying for to send him to that I can't send him to anymore. No, it was a bit of like, so I dropped off the face. Not, I didn't drop off, as in, I spent all my time talking to the team, but I took a couple of months before I gathered a customer, and I think probably that's the best thing I did in a way, because, you know, when I am speaking to people, they go, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm really struggling with the homeschooling. Like, well, me too. I've not done anything. Like, how let's do this together, because I'm in the same boat. I totally understand. But there are people in the team who are absolutely smashing it, and their team are too. So I'm not saying it's kind of that's the way to do it. It's just that's the way I do it, because I think that's the thing about the business that I've discovered, is that there are so many different ways to achieve, which is brilliant, and there are so many different ways to run the business and everything. And I think as long as you're being authentic and true to yourself, then great. Because as soon as you try to be someone else, and we have these conversations all the time, don't we? You hear it all the time. Oh my God, so-and-so's smashing it. I wish I could be more like them. No, don't do that, because then you're not being you. And you are the unique thing about Utility Warehouse. We've all got the same tool, the same presentation, the same prices, but you are the thing that makes it different. You're the thing that make people want to refer you to their friends and family, or join you on this journey, or and things like that. And if you try and be somebody else, then it's just not going to work. And I think that's the thing that I discovered. Actually, getting to senior group leader really helped me, because I've got people in my team who are amazing, so much better than me, and I always used to feel quite inadequate about that. But actually, what I hope is that the more people that are getting up then and getting to group leader and senior group leader and things, with all the different personalities and styles behind them, I think that's really, really helpful, because then people relate to different people. We can't be everybody's cup of tea. I understand there are some people who don't like me. I mean, that's fine. Can't believe it, but no, it's fine, because we all relate to different people, don't we? So first tangent, I can't even remember the question now. See, this is what happens. What were we talking about?
That is fine. Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was what we were talking about.
No, it's really interesting. I'm getting a lot out of this. I don't know what
Oh, we were talking about lockdown and how I talked to my team. There we go. So what I did was I really, really missed connection, and I'm probably quite obvious. I'm a blue, and so I like the social kind of aspect of things. That's what I really love about UW. So rather than me calling my team and saying, how can we help you get customers? How can we help you get back into the business? We did things like Friday night happy half hour. And at 6 till 6:30 we had a Zoom, we played some music, we had a different theme, we did a dress up, and we just had a laugh, and it was very much like, you can come along, we're not allowed to talk about the business, I don't want any mention of UW or customers or questions or anything, and you can come along whether you feel like you have done anything this week or not. But this is a chance just to end the week, because all the days are just blurring into one, end the week and start the weekend. And we're very much about that kind of inclusiveness, rather than just sort of, because I know I'm really aware that people feel like they can't come along, because they don't really deserve to come along to things, because they haven't done as much as they should, all those awful words that are just horrible, but things like should, it's just like awful amount of guilt, isn't it? And so I'm just like, look, I've not done anything this week, but I need a drink and I want to dress up, let's have a little party, and just different things like that, so that people were aware that they're all right to keep in, and I'll just do my best, because I'm obviously homeschooling and stuff as well. So I just do my best to I try and call 5 team members a day, and just kind of work from the top down through my portal, just to see how they are, and just ask them if there's anything they need from me or anything that I can do, just because it's important that we know where they're at. For all we know, they've lost somebody, they are totally losing it from homeschooling, and we just don't know, do we? So I'm just checking in with people, and I think gradually people will start to come back, I hope, because they feel like it's a safe place they can come back to, and it's not too late. And again, me sharing that I've been struggling as well, and I haven't really been doing as much as I should, or as much as I normally do, hopefully will encourage them to come back. But yeah, really, it's slowed down. It has slowed down, but I think that's understandable. It's crazy for a lot of the team. We've got a lot of mums in our team as well, so it's inevitable, I think.
I would love to have more mums in my team.
Yeah,
I have a fabulous team. You can see lots of the people here. I've got amazing customer gatherers like Steve Henderson's at 300 and whatever, loads of customers, 50 customers. Kathy Martin's over 100 plus, Stephen Val White over 100 plus. And I've got a lot of brilliant team members. I would love to have more of them, and it's just trying to get people started on the right way and not feeling intimidated. I'm sort of sitting harboring on that, thinking of, I've got a lot of thinking to do about that, about how to make my team more inclusive and I suppose for new starters to not feel overwhelmed. What I want to ask quickly now is, because we've got about 8 minutes left, is everyone else in the team, I'm sitting with a lot of stuff out of this Zoom so far. What have you got to ask Hannah? She's here. Unmute yourselves, ask her a question, jump in there.
Just not about broadband or prices or speeds or anything like that.
What's the price of our Ultra Plus? So unmute everyone. Unmute everyone.
There was a question that came in and said, did you say you were training members of your team doing the fast stuff?
Yeah, did you say that? Yeah,
so I almost kind of, you know, when we get a new starter and we do supported appointments with them, and then we train them up to a point where they can go off and do the customer gathering themselves, and we gradually let them go. So I do the first 3 supported appointments for them, they do the next 3, and I'm there helping them, and so on. So we do that the same with the Fast Start plan. So say, for example, I recruited Trish, and then Trish recruited Val. So obviously I would do the Fast Start plan with Trish and would get her started. And then one of our first supported appointments together, we recruit Val. And then then I would do the Fast Start plan with Val, and Trish, you would be there to watch and learn how to do it. And then Trish then recruits Kathy, and Trish, you would do the Fast Start plan with Kathy, but I would be there to help. Oh. So it's again about passing that down. And then Kathy goes and recruits Steve, and Trish, you would do the Fast Start plan with Kathy and Steve, so Kathy can learn how to do it. So it's just, again, passing that baton down. Just the same as doing supported appointments, we do supported Fast Start plans. I suppose that's the best way of explaining it. Because otherwise, is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, that's great actually, because then you mentioned the questions and answers, you know, L&P. So actually it's really good, because if you're not very good at that, it's really good to hear and see somebody else, you know, nudging you or, you know, helping you along the way. So I think that's a really great idea, actually. Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Not like you're not very good at that. Like, we are all really good at asking questions about people. Like, my 9-year-old is great at just asking loads of questions, because that's how we are. We're born like that. But it's almost like as soon as we start a utility warehouse, it's like we forget how to have conversations with people, and we need all these acronyms, don't we? Like form and stuff like that. Because otherwise, I remember like really early on, getting ready to go out for a party, and I said to Will, "Can we not talk about utility warehouse tonight?" Because you want to like make every single you want to have every single opportunity, don't you? You don't want to let those opportunities go, because that's what you hear. You know, oh well, I recruited someone I was filling up with petrol, and you know, it's like, I can't even go for like a petrol without thinking about my business. But you know, if you have those things, like when we go to the parties now, you know, we will stick to form. And actually, Will and I have a competition to see who can have the few amount of questions asked about ourselves at parties, because we're always batting it off and asking questions about other people. And then you come away from that and people go, oh god, they're really like interesting, you know, really interested couple. They're really nice people to be around. We even do it at family gatherings, and it's really interesting because I've got a very, very, very big sort of like Mediterranean family, and we did a quiz during lockdown, and there was a quiz round about each other, and Will and I just literally were like, well, we're going to smash this, and we got every single question right, and our family were going, oh, I didn't know that Andrew owned a machete. I was like, didn't you? I did. I got 2 actually. Yeah, and it was brilliant. We literally we were like, yes, we've been training for this moment all our lives. So no, we are naturally we are good at asking questions. I think we get a form in front of us, don't we? And you can't. This is the problem with sticking to the system and don't reinvent the wheel. It's like you can't come away from this. The question on the Fast Start plan is, what inspired you to join the business? And then the next question is, you know, how much money do you want to earn? And we're worried about asking extra questions about that. But if you're genuinely like, you know what, my job here is to learn as much about this person as possible, then you will naturally ask the questions. You don't really need a book and a list of questions to ask. You just naturally get good at asking questions. But I have that exactly, and I'll be doing the Fast Start plan with someone, a team member, and a senior team leader actually. She's like, oh, you're so good at that. I was like, well, I'm just asking questions, genuinely interested in the guy. You know, I've got nothing else to do. I just want to find out about him. So take it away from we are here to fill in the Fast Start plan. So we are here to get to know Kathy in as much detail as possible. Make it a competition, see who can find out the most. And that's what's got me through anyway.
That's great.
Well, I've got to say,
I love it. And also the fact that you listen. Listening is really important, isn't it?
Oh, well,
I
yeah,
love
absolutely. Well done. Yeah, I've totally missed that point. Exactly. Actually ask the question that and want to know the answer is so important, rather than just asking a question to then think of the next question you can ask them. Yeah, spot on.
Thanks, Hannah. Thank you.
And what you're saying about that is brand new to me, really. It was last week, I had a distributor who did nothing for 6 months, who was looking for a job. And I said, why don't you have a look at this? Why don't we do the Fast Start plan online and treat it as if we were starting again? And then I asked Lisa where to come and do the Fast Start, and I watched on Zoom. That's my first experience of actually doing that. And I thought, it's actually, we're in a brilliant environment for doing that. We've never had the ability to do it as easily together, shared, and teach people how to do it. So
Yeah,
I love the fact
absolutely.
you've actually just been doing that all along, and that's natural to you, and that's part of your team culture.
Yeah, and I think it's really important though, if you get someone else on there who doesn't know that person, it's actually easier for them. Like, it would have been easier for Lisa to ask questions because she didn't know that person. She was genuinely like, so, you know, what do you want? How are you here? What's your situation? Like, genuine, you know, it wasn't like super ninja SGL skills. It's just like, I'm genuinely interested because I don't know. Whereas if you brought that person in yourself, you kind of know it, don't you? Like, well, I know that you want to join the business because you haven't got a job, which is very, very normal, of course. But that's why it's really good to get someone else in, definitely.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's something we'll carry forward. Right, everyone, it's 9:59. Any last questions? Who wants to ask Hannah a final question?
Really good.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, it's gone so quickly. I told you I'd ramble. At least I gave you a warning.
Oh, I've got loads out of this. I've recorded it. I'll be watching it again and picking up what I missed in the first time and the second time.
So I hope it's
That's
helpful.
good news. Great. Okay. Lovely.
Really good.
Yeah, thanks.
Fabulous.
Thanks, Hannah. No,
Oh,
really
thank
nice.
you for having
Nice to
me.
meet you. Yeah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Nice
Thank
to
you,
meet you
Hannah.
all as well.
Have a fabulous week.
Thank you.
Yes.
Stay safe.
Thanks very much.
Fiona.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.